Hi and welcome back. In this video, I'll be talking about the connections between building blocks in Max, edit operations, and I will list some resources that you could find helpful when learning Max. As you could see me, when I was hovering over the output and clicking it and pulling, I was pulling a connection from this case, this is the message, and this is one type of connection that I can pull. And another type of connection is used for audio. So as I was working with, for example, the live gain, you could see it looks differently. Let's spawn the output again for a moment. And you can see that this is different from this even visually. This is a dotted line, and this is a solid gray line by default. And this solid line is used for control messages, and they are basically only sent when there's trigger, when it's being triggered, basically. So whenever I, for example, let me do it this way. Let me write hello here. So right now, nothing is happening inside this connection. There is no data being transmitted or sent. But when I click it, or when I click the bank, it will be instantly sent to this next message, and it will set the value of this message box. It should set it to hello. And yeah, as you can see, it worked. And the difference between the audio is that audio is actually sent constantly. So even though actually there is no audio right now, so there's just silence happening here. We can even go into, sorry, it's actually enabled the probing, so I can hover over the connection and should be able to see the signal, but again, it's silence. So maybe I can actually, sorry, not this one, cycle. So maybe this will be a better example. So, okay, let's get rid of this one. And sorry, audio was disabled, that's why I couldn't see anything, but the audio will be constantly flowing through Heal, because this is actually being sent at the DSP rate. So you see, immediately after I enable it, it started flowing, and you can see it visual representation, which is the level of the audio here. And you can see it's being changed as I click and drag this, which basically works like a fader. It's the same way as it works in live. You can see the attenuation value here. And this is actually flowing constantly. There we go. You can see the value right now. And for now, it's let's set it to, the cycle is actually oscillator that's cycling between 0 and 1. So let's set the value. This frequency is in hertz. And you can see now it's slowly going up and down. Actually, let's make it slower so we can see how it's going up and down. And right now, if I hover here over the connection, I can see how the value is changing gradually in time. And if you're for some reason not seeing this on hover, you can always go in here in debug and check this signal probe. I'll just press Ctrl+4. But once you do it, it should stay the same. Again, this option with hovering, it's quite handy at times, especially when you're debugging something. And again, difference between the signal connection, audio signal connection, and control messages is that this is happening constantly. I mean, as long as there's actually audio present and audio is enabled. And this is only happening when we actually trigger something. So maybe we can, okay, let's do it like this. So you will see that this bank is only banging as I'm actually pressing the top bank, because when I'm not doing anything, there's nothing being sent through here. And that's it. I guess it will get even clearer as we will progress. Then you could see more actual use cases for the control messages and for the audio rate connections. And as you can see, I'm actually switching between two different modes, because whenever I'm able to select, or whenever I'm actually double click and I can spawn a new object, or I can just press N, But right now I can do it because I'm in edit mode, and you can see here it's checked. But if you actually want to trigger, for example, this bank button, or move this slider, I have to disable the edit mode or go into the play lock mode. So I actually have to press Control E, and right now I'm able to control the value or click it here. And right now I'm not able to enter any value here into this object, even though I'm clicking multiple times. So I just press Control E and I just do it. It's just a muscle memory right now for me, and probably will be for you. Because when you want to change something, you're in edit mode. When you are playing with the patch and moving the sliders or sending messages, then you will just disable the edit mode, go into the play mode. You can also just press this lock here to switch between those two modes. There's also presentation mode, but we will get to it eventually. It's not that important as of right now. Okay, and let's now go through another thing, which is the basic operations, because of course I can select, I can press Control C, and I can press Control V, and I can just copy those selected blocks and objects. And so Control C, Control V to regular type of edit operation. There's also the delete, all backspace to remove something, and there's the Control E, and those are probably all the Control E to turn between the modes that I mentioned a moment before. And those are probably all the edit operations that you should be familiar at this point. Of course, there's more, and you can always see them in the edit menu here. So you can, you know how this works. Yes, and okay, so right now, let's clean this up a little bit. And for example, let's save something because, hey, we created something cool. Maybe this is not particularly cool, but you created something cool, you want to save it. So we will just either just press the key combination or go here in File menu and press Control S if you haven't saved this before. So it will ask us automatically where and how do we want to save it. And of course, we can choose whatever name we want and just save it. And right now it's safe. A moment ago, or actually I can just change something and you'll see it again. There is this star. This means that the patch is not saved. I mean, that basically we changed something, like we changed a value or we moved an object around and it's changed its position within patch, so it's unsaved. So this will indicate that the patch is not saved, or basically it has been changed since the last time we press Control S. Now we can just press Control S to save it again, and it will save it as this patch, which I just call name. And it's good to remember that if we have some dependencies, for example, samples, and we have them inside the patch, then if we move the patch to a different computer, it will just remember the path to the sample. So it's healthy to keep, for example, the samples in the same place as the patch, just so that it's easier to when we are moving the patch between different machines. And there are solutions for when we are, for example, exporting the patch using Rainbow, or if we are doing standalone applications, but we may have to get to that later. That's almost it for this very first contact with Max. I already mentioned that we can have this inspector to help us. I mean, the inspector is useful to see how to change the different parameters, arguments for this selected object. And we can also go this way. So right-click it and just go into help, or we can do the key combo, Control Shift H, as it says here. We can see the help file for it, but we can actually go into the documentation as well. Let's see. Let's open the reference. So this is the interactive documentation that we get with Max. Here you are. And this documentation is also available online on the cycling website. I'll get to that in a moment. But if we go up, you can see this is the list of Max for Life objects, because This is coming from the Max for Life package. So these are all the Max for Life objects. And if we go up, this is the Max for Life. No, sorry, we are we are still here. With the object line, you can see there are topics here. So this will be documentation for some examples for the Max for Life objects, but we can go even, there are some guides as well, which may come handy if you want to work with those objects or work with Max for Life export. But of course, again, let's go up to the getting started. So this is the main page of the documentation. It may come really handy to you, especially at the beginning or later in the game, if you want to revisit some topics, or you forgot how to do something, or you want to learn more about a specific object, then this will be basically very, very handy, this documentation. Yes, if we go here in Max and here in tutorials, there's also a list of tutorials that you can follow at your own pace, and you can go through all the topics regarding Max. You can gradually learn more and more. It may come very handy, especially if you're beginning your journey with Max. So I would highly recommend those. There are also some online resources. Let's switch the audio off. I actually opened it before. So if you go to cycling74.com/learn, or if you just go to cycling website and go into Learn tab, you can see there's the documentation. That's the online documentation for Max. That's the online documentation for Rainbow. And there are some tutorials. So here, if we go to check all of the tutorials, you can follow tutorials written by people. There might be some cool projects that you will find an inspiration from for your own projects. There's a number of those. Of course, it's divided into different levels, or actually topics. So yeah, feel free to dig in those if you want to learn something about specific topics. That's it for now. So good luck and see you in the next video. I hope this did help you a little bit.